Looking at my eye bags.
We always look like this.
Because Aram's ass made me get up at like 5 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday.
I know, right?
You were probably up anyway.
Only because the alarm went off.
What time do your kids get up?
One's up right now. One was up at 6. My oldest is still in bed right now. They're early risers, but I mean, I just kind of let them be a little bit more lax on the weekends. But on the did we lose her?
Oh,
Looks
I
like
think
it.
your connection
On the weekdays,
or someone's
they're up
connection
at
is
like
off.
5:50 in the morning because I don't play. So I'm like, let's go.
I've just never understood, like, if you had kids, why you don't wake up before them. Not you,
Well,
but like.
I try, but my kids have like a weird mommy sense. Like, so as soon as they hear me up, especially the baby, the youngest, like as soon as she hears me up and moving, like I was in the room brushing my teeth and then I feel like little fingers tapping on me and I'm like, oh, hi, good morning. But she's always been like that since she was a baby. She was that kid where, you see the reels where the mom's like, what do I do? She's sleeping. Do I put her down and risk it or do I stay? And I'm like, oh no, I was always staying because it was easier to always just keep them on me. I know they say that you shouldn't, but I mean, in that moment of survival, you're like, okay, I want sleep. It's easier for me to wake up and just pop her on my boob and then go back to bed. Like, it's a survival mechanism and it's fine. We work through it.
And then you can always train them differently as they get older.
Yeah, and every kid's different too because my oldest was potty trained very easily. We moved her to her room fairly easily, like once I was pregnant with the second one. And then our youngest, like our oldest fought us leaving our room. So it transitioned from her being in the bed with us to her being on like a little sleeper couch on the floor in the room still because she felt unfair because there was a baby in the room. And then eventually she transitioned out. But the youngest, we never even had to really transition too badly. Like it was really like, okay, dad said you got to go. So bye.
And they were good about that. And she was good about that.
She was good about it. Yeah. I just had to go in the room, help her get down, sit in there for a minute, which of course at the time was driving me nuts. But now that I think about it, it's like, well, it's what she needed. And at least it was a compromise of her being out of our room. Eventually, sorry, Dal's texting me. Eventually she just transitioned out because I was kind of I'll admit it. I was like, no, just let them stay in the room. And my husband's like, no, get them out of the room. And now I get it. I'm like, oh yeah, goodbye. And now we're like hard stop at 7:30 at night. We're like, y'all got to get out of here.
Well, it's kind of like the dog thing, right? Like people always talk about like crate training a dog and should the dog sleep in the bed with you? And it just depends on the dog. I mean, like our dog screamed for fucking 45 minutes straight in her crate. And we're like, nope, this isn't going to happen. So second she got put in bed, she quieted down and that was the end of it. Go.
So Luba's the whiny one. Oh, okay.
Yeah, Bruno doesn't really complain. I mean, he was crated when I first got him, but I didn't realize that I didn't know if he was going to be destructive or not. So when I would go to work, I would crate him and he would shit and piss in the crate and then like stand in the back corner of it, like shivering.
Oh, that's weird.
And then I came home one day. I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. What's the word? Okay, so he tears up furniture. Fuck it. Who cares? And I let him out. And I came home, and he's just like laying on the couch.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
So
okay.
he didn't like being in the crate, and that was it. And and Luba didn't. I mean, it's like anything else. It's like ferberizing a kid. You just have to let them go, and you have to put up with the fact that they're probably going to cry bloody murder for some period of time until they don't.
Well, now I'm nervous because my dog has not seen a night in the crate since his surgery because we've just spoiled him to the max. And like my husband has thrown his hands up in the air like, you know what? It's 3 against 1. Fuck all of y'all. Because now he's in kids' beds and living the life like a king. And I'm like, you know what? If you're going to tell my dog that his time is almost nearing, like, you know what? He's going to go out like a king. Sorry.
Let that dog do whatever he wants.
Open. He's got a Franken scar. He could do whatever the fuck he wants at this point.
Yeah,
he's the prince of the house.
Okay, I'm back, guys. Yeah, I don't know. I had to reload the site and whatever. Obviously, of course, the day that we have Aram, this shit's gonna happen because it's never happened before. But anyways, it's working now. So
That's okay. I had my technical difficulties. Now you have. So
yes, totally missed that whole conversation. So
we were just talking about kids and dogs, comparing them to each other and how they're so much alike.
Very similar.
Like mine. I just put food on the table for her right now. She's good. She'll be quiet. She's with the dog too, so they're all good. Everybody's fed.
Same here. I'm like, unless it's an emergency, you do not interrupt. Like,
but we still get interruptions around, so fair warning. But we just keep it rolling.
That's okay.
All right, so I'll go ahead and intro it.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, welcome back to another episode of Breaking the Cycle, Redefining Weight Loss, Health, and Mom Life. And today we have the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Aram Grigorian at 4 Weeks to the Beach. And today he's going to be mansplaining hormones to us. Just kidding.
Wow. Yeah.
So out the gate, Aram, why are you president of the He-Man Women's Hater Club?
You know, I've been doing a lot of thinking about this subject. And I think the thing that I've landed on is the concept of toxic feminism. Just like there's toxic masculinity, which I do think is a real thing. Like I think a man who assumes that he's a man just because of certain things, you know, like traditionally speaking, when I grew up, if a dad worked and put food on the table with his finances, he didn't really have to do much else. And the woman kind of assumed a role where it was like, well, cool, my husband makes money, I take care of the house, I take care of the kids. That's the separation of power, and so be it. But we live in a different time now, and I think men need to be more emotionally intelligent, and I think they're becoming so, but at a very, very slow rate still, unfortunately. And there's this been weird like pendulum swing of feminism into this direction of like, if you don't support us, you're against us, or if you don't agree with everything we say, and even if you pick this or this apart, it means that you're not fully supporting us, which means you're actually against us. And whether it's, you know, the tribalism in politics or religion, it's become very similar in that way. And it's not every woman, right? It's like I have 49,000 followers, and I would say that most of my audience, that's 80% women, are all very cool. They're very reasonable. They don't come at me for shit. Like I don't get a lot of crap in my DMs or in my comment section. But when I do, it's usually from somebody that doesn't follow me, that doesn't know my message, that isn't exposed to me on a regular basis. So the things that I say can be triggering to them based on their lived experience. And I get it. Like, I'm not a mom. I don't have female hormones. I don't have to deal with a menstrual cycle. I'll never be in perimenopause. But hormone issues are hormone issues regardless of what sex you are. I've had them. I've gone through them. I don't go through them on a monthly basis for 30, 40 years. So I don't understand that cumulative exhaustion that occurs because of it. Because I'm sure at some point it does get fucking old to be like, well, every month I have to expect 2 weeks of feeling like shit. And despite all my best efforts of sleeping properly and managing stress and managing time, but that's again assuming that people are doing all those things also, which I think when an issue becomes emotional, the logic and the reason get removed from the equation in the discussion. And then very often it starts to become how somebody feels about the subject versus what the data actually says. And you guys know more than most people are not collecting data on their own behavior in a regular fashion throughout their lifetime. So that's where, like, I expect to get a ration of shit from women who aren't understanding of who I am and what I do and how I communicate. And if they stick around long enough to see that the message is empowering and it isn't invalidating, then hopefully they'll understand what I'm trying to say. But most of them won't stick around that long.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you, because if you guys don't know, I was absolutely kidding and poking fun. Aram is also my coach and a mentor of mine. And I will believe, and I am probably biased, but that's okay. I could be biased. Aram is one of the many men out there who are rooting for us women to help us figure out our shit and not play the victim to hormones and life and whatever else that we're falling attack under. Now, my whole thing is, when I first came across you, are you really in your face? Yes. But it's like you said, once you stick around and actually listen to your messaging, you are empowering us as women to take a stand take back our lives, take control of the variables that we can't control. And so it's really unfortunate that other women are basically saying only other women can understand what we're going through. Do we have a better sense of it? Yes, absolutely. But it's not like you don't get it. You deal with us day in and day out, and you are a very hands-on coach, and you are very empathetic when we need it, but you're also very straightforward. And I don't know if
Yeah.
people, I think a lot of the people that attack you or don't feel or resonate with you are because they want to stay stuck in that victim mentality or victim mindset. They want to think that they're that to unicorn, that's the reason why. The hormones is the reason why.
I don't think it's that they
Yeah.
want to stay stuck. I think that they want to be
Yeah.
validated. They want to be
Right.
validated. They want to be understood. They want to be support. Well, what is validation? Validation means that I think this way and you support me thinking this way. You can think whatever you want to think. I don't care. Like my job isn't to pick apart your hard days, your trauma, how you feel, what your emotions are. That's not my responsibility. My responsibility is to give you the truth and to have you at least consider some alternative ways of thinking. So for example, we'll take the classic one of, well, I'm only eating 1,000 calories, I'm not losing weight. Okay, like that's what you believe. I get it. If I was to eat the way that most women eat, and I just spent 6 days with my family in Daytona Beach, and I watched like my parents and my extended family, I watched how they eat. They graze all day long, and it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
seem like a lot of food for them because for most average people who don't have basic skills of nutrition or awareness of a nutrition label, they think that a handful of nuts is an innocuous, very low calorie option. Whereas if you do that 5 or 6 times a day, that could be 900 to 1,000 calories of just handfuls of nuts that you're not paying attention to. And if you don't know, you don't know. So with somebody like my mother, who's 78 years old, who doesn't know these things, to her, well, it would make sense that I'm only eating 1,000 calories. All I've really eaten today was one egg, some nuts, and some dried fruit. I had this piece of fruit at 4, and then I had this very little small bowl of soup at 7. But it all adds up throughout the day, and we have to consider that everybody has an individual calorie budget, and if they exceed that budget, they get fat. And there's still this disbelief that it's food that's making you fat. It's almost like it's formulating out of nowhere. Like I just woke up one day and this body fat just appeared, where without the raw materials of stuff going in your mouth, it can't happen, period. Point blank. You can certainly have bloating, inflammation, water retention, fluid retention, poor lymphatic drain. All of these things can be a consideration, and they can make the scale seem higher than it actually is. It can make you feel like you're a fucking bloated tick walking around with all this shit inside of you, which is very often the case. But fat itself, fat tissue can't come out of nowhere.
No, it's something you were saying before too. I just want to circle back and then come back to this. But as far as, being a male and talking and speaking about like women's issues, I'm a female. Does it invalidate me that I don't deal with the period shit, that it doesn't affect me in my lifts, that I don't turn to sweets, that it doesn't affect my mood? And so now I can't understand my client. Like, do
That's
you
a
know what I
good
mean?
point.
There's that parallel. Like, yeah, it doesn't make sense. And also going back to what you were just saying now, it's like there's a lack of, there's a disconnect, right? There's a disconnect between what you don't know and what you're exposed to. And what you're exposed to, and let's talk about the algorithm, that
Mm-hmm.
isn't necessarily your fault. It's because what you don't know. And so that's what you're going to always be feeding into. And so when someone like me sees that, and I'll be honest, like what you were talking about with your media, had I not been doing the work prior to, and I had that aha moment with like the tracking and seeing those numbers, I would have looked at your posts and been like, fuck that. Like, I would have been triggered. I would have been, because one, it is in your face, and two, it's a projection, right? It's a projection of what I don't know and what I don't want to believe. And so I can see that. I can see women when they come across that, they don't want to see it. either because they don't know or because they haven't really dealt with that yet and haven't, made that connection where they've actually gone through that process to really educate themselves and want to self-select to that messaging. So that becomes like, that's a barrier in itself, wouldn't you say?
I mean, it has to be. Again, it all comes
Yeah.
back down to lived experience is lived experience. I don't care how you slice it.
Yeah.
Everybody's is different. But at the end of the day, like, we have to be able to approach scientific topics with a logical and reasonable lens
Yeah.
versus an emotional lens. Like, let's put it this way: if I had a goal of making $100,000 a month, there's a very specific way to do that. Like, there's many ways to get there. There's certainly certain all different schools of thought on how to make more money. But that's a very technically based skill set. Like, how do you earn more money? Well, you have to have a certain message and you have to market to a certain person and you have to have certain conversion events and blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. There's a system to get you there. There's a system for fat loss. Regardless of how you feel about that system,
Yeah.
the system still exists. So you can either fight
It's the same.
the plain truth and the physiology of it, or you can say, well, I'm not really paying attention to this as much as I think I am, or I do feel strongly about this because maybe I have been hearing about this hormone thing from all these other people over here who seemingly are trustworthy because they have white lab coats and large followings. But I've never actually separated myself away from this message and actually done some of this auditing myself. And once somebody actually is open to that, and that's the difference between being an open-minded, growth-minded person versus being a fixed-minded person and saying, well, that can't be true. Okay, cool. Like, you don't, that the truth is going to remain the truth whether you want to believe it or not. So you can either accept that the truth does apply to you, and if you actually audited yourself, you would see some opportunities, which is awesome. That's the empowering part.
Yep.
Or you can say, fuck you, you're wrong, you don't understand. Okay. Like, I would much rather know that the problem I'm trying to solve is under my control and I have something I can do about it versus I have to go
Yeah.
into a functional medicine office, pay thousands of dollars for lab work that may or may not be necessary, identify what my hormonal deficiencies are, and then what? Okay, cool. Like, you just went through that process. That was arduous. That probably took 3 months with the way that our medical system is right now. So it took you 90 days to find out what anybody could have told you for free, which is you probably do have lower estrogen, you probably do have lower testosterone, you probably do have impaired thyroid function. And now what? You should still be eating well. You should still be tracking your food. You should still be training with weights. You should still be walking. You should still be doing cardio. It doesn't absolve you of any of those things. You just might be able to do it with a little bit more ease if you get on HRT. But that's the only thing that happens is that it allows compliance to be slightly easier to comply to. It doesn't change any of the mechanisms that actually create the end result. And that's the thing that's infuriating to listen to. It's like, I get it. I know what it's like to be fatigued and to be moody and to be almost suicidal and, and depressed constantly because of how your body feels and looks and operates. And it sucks. But regardless of that, like, you have all this time left in front of you. Do you want to just sit around and wait for somebody else to make choices for you? Or do you want to become the autonomous being that makes a choice for yourself and get yourself out of the woods that you walked into?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's the hardest
Go ahead,
part is
Carmen.
people taking accountability or radical responsibility to understand, like, you could feel like shit every day, but there's still variables that you can control. And a lot of people still don't want to accept that this has to be a lifestyle because I didn't want to accept it.
Yeah.
I mean, but also
Yeah.
too, that's like the programming and the messaging that we were receiving. It's get results fast and yo-yo diet, crash diet, and then go back to eating like an asshole and living, a shitty lifestyle. And a lot of people want to complain and say that it's hard or it's too laborious. I mean, it is. I won't invalidate that. It is at the front end until you find a systems that works for you. So talk about that. Like, how can we, not even just as women, just as people, start to try to take action where it's not too overwhelming and take things under their control?
I think you have to accept that it's going to be overwhelming. I think people have this illusion that, like, once I start making these overhauls to my lifestyle, that it's going to be easy. No, it's not. Like, something as simple as, like, putting down your phone and making that a goal. Like, every night at 7 o'clock when I'm with my family, my goal is I'm going to put my phone away. You've had your phone in your hand for 15 years. Like, are you just going to be able to make that decision tomorrow and put it down and never pick it up again? No. It's going to take somebody probably sitting there and holding you accountable and being like, well, when I see you pick your phone up, I'm going to say something, which at first stings because it means that you need help. And people are very, very bad at asking for and accepting help because it
Yeah.
means that they're not good at something. And newsflash to anybody, you're bad at a lot of stuff until you aren't, and that's okay. That's the human condition. Like, I don't know how to play basketball until I pick it up and play it. I don't know how to knit a sweater until I try it. I don't know how to fucking hang stuff in my house, so I go on YouTube to figure it out. We always need help, and I think for women, unfortunately, they've been indoctrinated into believing that they're doing it on their own and that they don't have support systems. Well, if you don't ask for help, and your husband innately doesn't want to cook or doesn't want to clean or doesn't want to help the kids with the homework, and you also don't ask him to do that stuff, then he's going to park it on the couch at 7 o'clock at night when he's home from work, and he's not going to help because that's not his default. But that's a very easy problem to solve. I shouldn't say that. It'll take some time, but it'll take at least a conversation, and you have to be willing to be
Yes.
open to have that conversation. And if I look at guys like women like you, all the same problems that anybody else has, multiple kids, jobs, responsibilities. Okay. Like, those are the only points of resistance anybody ever cites. I have no time. Why? Because I have kids, because I have a job. Cool. So do all these other people. I'm depressed. Why? Well, because I'm having trouble at home. Cool. So do other people. My kids are annoying and they're really, really tough to deal with because one of them is autistic and the other one has a learning disability. Cool. So do plenty of other people. So every time you cite your problem, instead of looking at the people who are feeding into the problem, look at the women who are overcoming these problems and take examples and inspiration from them. Because you'll be able to find systems because success leaves clues. So how does Carmi get through having 3 kids and having to go to work in the morning? She's up at 5. She's preparing the night before. That's it. There's no magic to it. There's no secret. It sucks. It's tedious. It's annoying. We would rather be doing 40 other things, but that's our responsibility, unfortunately. And that's it starts with being able to say, I'm going to have to do this one way or another anyway, and I might as well stop hating it because I have to do it daily for the rest of my fucking life.
And
I think
that's
part of
that right there. Oh no, I was gonna say that right there, having to do it for the rest of your life.
yeah,
Going back, yeah.
yeah, that's
Go
kind of
ahead,
a
Carmen.
hard pill to swallow, but I mean, it
Yeah.
is what it is. It's what I need. I owe it to myself. But what I was going to say is, part of the problem with that, though, where they cite the problems, oh, well, she's got it figured out, is because they're comparing. They're playing the comparison game. They're wanting to do it or get the same results as me or one of your other clients or Dal, but they're not understanding that we are just slowly chipping away at it bit by bit and just doing the things that we can do and understanding that there is no timeline. We're just going to get there when we get there, and we just have to keep showing up.
Well, you also started somewhere, right? Like, you had to start with it sucking for you as well. And
Yeah.
it's still, there's still probably mornings where maybe you woke up 10 minutes later, maybe you were in a shittier mood, maybe sleep was a little bit worse. Maybe the night before you had debilitating PMS symptoms that made you fucking crawl out of your skin until midnight. So then when you wake up at 5 in the morning, you're like, I don't want to do any of this stuff. And I just want to throw my hands up and say, fuck it, and cry this morning and eat ice cream all day. Okay. We all have that. Like, everybody wants to give up on life every once in a while, but you have a responsibility. You're an adult. You don't just like not go to work because you don't feel like it, because your job depends on it and your finances depend on it. You don't stop parenting your kids and showing up for them because you don't want to fuck them up and be responsible for their problems. But unfortunately, for self care, and I never understood this, people always put themselves like dead last. And this isn't just a woman thing. This is everybody. Like, most people are so worried about everything else in life and everybody else in life. They're like, well, I can't take any time for me. Well, okay. Who else is going to take time? Who's going to give you your time back? Who's going to do the things that you have to do? Nobody. And at some point, like, if you actually realize how little goes into self-care, if you really like quantified a weekly bout of self-care. So let's break it down. Ingredient prep. And I mean like all of it, like starches, vegetables, 2 meat sources, 2.5 hours a week, maybe. And you guys can certainly corroborate that. Okay. So let's 2.5 hours a week for that.
Mhm.
3 strength training sessions a week. Call that another 3 hours. 2 bouts of cardio at 30 to 40 minutes apiece. That's another hour and a half. And that's it. That's all we're asking for. Like whether it's you or you guys or me or anybody else who has half a brain on Instagram, like that's all we're talking about. Can you allocate 8 hours a week of time to those things? And like, unless you're like a single mother with 10 kids and 2 jobs, I would imagine you can probably find 8 hours. And if you ever notice, it's always that single mom who somehow kind of just always makes it work, right? It's never the like I worked with some of the most elite, rich, well-to-do people in Greenwich, Connecticut, and these women had help. Like not only did they not have to parent their own kids most of the time, they had other people parenting their kids and cleaning their house and driving their kids around to appointments, and all of them complained about time. It's like why?
So what?
Because you have to go to a fucking nail appointment and you have to go to yoga and then you have to go to a brunch and that's where your time is going. So like you don't get to complain about the results that you're not getting from the effort you're not putting into it. And this is where I think it's also tough to conceptualize. If you go from zero to something, that feels like effort. But that may not be enough for what you're asking for. And that's the thing that's hard to accept is like, well, I was here doing nothing and then I started tracking my food. So I should be getting all these results. Nope. You just started the process of collecting data. Now you have to see what that data leads you to believe and do. I was going to the gym 0 times a week and I'm going to the gym twice a week. So that must equate to some better result. Maybe it's not enough. So that's another tough pill to swallow that takes a lot of self-responsibility and acceptance to have to be like, well, fuck, maybe I need to do more.
Yeah, Carmi and I talk about that, like the actions aligning with the expectations. And I think that's a big disconnect as well. Talking about, speaking of that. And so Carmi and I both, for example, like we have different goals, we have different lives, just everything. And, but I know what she's doing at the end of it, not the end of it, but at some point she's going to have this physique that I aspire towards, like one day. Yeah, I want that. But I also acknowledge and accept that that's not what my season of life right now allows for. So, what can I do today? What can I do this week? For example, Aram, like I was trying to do 3 full body workouts, hour long. Like, oh my God, it wasn't just an hour for me. It was my kids at home. Like there's constant interruption. So it's an hour takes me an hour and 45 minutes sometimes. Like it can. And so I wasn't being consistent enough. Like I would get one in, maybe go see Andrew, get a training session in. And so just recently I talked with him like, I can't do this. Like this is too much. It's too long. What can we do? He's like, easy. Like this is so easy. And within seconds, he adjusted my workouts. And now I'm doing 2 full body workouts, a half an hour, and I'm doing a training session with him once per week. That's 3 times a week I'm working out now. And I've been so consistent with that now. And that's where the pivot was, right?
Yes, that was
Yeah.
you being honest with yourself instead of you trying to white knuckle through it or just like keep that like mentality of like, oh, pain or torture is beauty and stuff like that. You're like, this is not working for me, but I want to be consistent and I want to hit my goals, even if it takes longer. How can we adjust this?
Yeah. And I'm not going to look like you. I'm not going to look like you. I'm not going to look like our friend Patty. Like, I know that, but that's okay. It'll come in time. Like I know.
Well, I mean, knowing all you guys, and I think this is an important thing. And like, if your listeners know who Patty is and they know you guys, like those are 3 distinct women coming from 3 distinct backgrounds and starting points.
Yeah.
Doll, you were over 100 pounds heavier than you are now. Carmi, you've been heavier, but not to the degree that Doll was. Patty has never been heavy a day in her life. Why does
She
Patty
has actually.
I mean, not to
like,
the degree that you were, or
Yeah.
even as Carmi was, like heavier based on where she is now, sure. But that's the other thing is like people don't respect their starting point.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
they look at other people and they look at where they are on their journey, and they covet and are envious of where they're at. But what they don't realize is like, well, they started somewhere too, and it was really hard for them to start where they were. But somebody's starting point was even harder than that one, right? Like yours was harder than Carmi's. Carmi's was harder than Patty's. So everybody has to respect where they start. And like, let's say, for example, you can only train twice a week. What does that now do? It now forces more need for compliance to nutrition, because if you can't train that often and you can't burn as many calories through exercise, so your energy expenditure is not as high, and you're trying to lose fat, well, how do you lose fat? Calorie deficit. How do you get into a deficit? You either eat more or eat less or move more. So if you can't move more, you have to eat less, unfortunately. And that is another big problem. It's like, well, that's really uncomfortable. It's like, cool. That's unfortunately your situation because you don't have the time to allocate towards training.
Yeah.
If you had 6 hours a week, you can train more, which would give you more flexibility to eat more. But you don't. So you have to work within your circumstances. And that's a really tough pill for a lot of people to swallow also, because it's like, well, theirs life is easier. Their circumstances are different than yours. That's okay. You can't do anything about their circumstances. You can only control yours.
Mm-hmm. So how much of that do you find like working with clients, and for how long you've been in the space for, as far as like the comparison and wanting certain results and, you know, all of it, like, because comparison's huge. I see it with my clients too. It's like, oh, I want what she has, but how do you rein that in, and how do you talk to your clients about like the comparison and all the different variables at play?
Examples in science, just anecdote.
Yeah.
Basically, like I can say, okay, well, I have a case study of an individual here that was 280 pounds, and they had very similar circumstances to you. So this is what you can expect. Okay, like
Mm.
that's pretty easy. Or hey, you're talking about this person, and I did some digging on that person, and this is what I found. And I personally believe that based on your lifestyle, you're not going to get there. And I blatantly tell people that. And I say that to them, not in a way to disempower them, but to tell them realistically that you just don't have the physical amount of time to allocate towards this goal that they have. So, and that's it. Like you can't formulate time out of nowhere. You can't get rid of one of or two of your kids. You can't stop working. You know what I mean? Like if
Yeah.
and
Going to
now
Canada to Auntie Dell.
Yeah.
well, you can certainly make modifications and everything, but you got to also understand, like, let's say, for example, the one's like, nah, fuck that, I'm going to do it. Okay, cool. Something is going to
Mm.
suffer. Like
Yes,
your
exactly.
parenting is going to suffer. Your relationship with your spouse is going to suffer. Your mental health might start to suffer because you're never taking any time to actually relax or take downtime. So if you're okay with going through this grind, white knuckle, I can do it all mode, and let's say you get to this proverbial end result or this physique that you want to emulate and see, you can get there. Plenty of women do. There's a lot of single female bodybuilders who have two jobs who also bodybuild, and they somehow make it happen. I mean, there was a woman on our podcast who was a widowed mother of 10 who owns two
Mm.
businesses and was a bikini competitor in her 50s. How does she do it? She has no other life, period, outside of her job, the gym, and her children. That's it. She has no social life. Well, her social life is the gym. Like
Right.
that's where she derives but where do most people derive pleasure from? Going out with friends, eating and drinking. So it's like, well, yeah, you don't get to do that shit anymore. So you can do it. Like, I'm not telling you you can't get there, but you're going to fucking give up all this other stuff. And are you willing to do that? And for the temporary time that it takes to do that, are you going to be able to sit in this physique if you can't maintain those habits? No. So you'll get there, which is cool. But then what? Unless you do a photo shoot, and I do encourage women, I think photo shoots are a great way to push yourself, have evidence that you are capable of something, but also know that it's not going to last. Because any like bodybuilders have this problem all the time. A female bodybuilder will get to a certain body fat percentage that's really, really low and almost unhealthy, and then she'll beat herself up post show because she can't stay that way, because the
Mm. Yeah.
expectation is I can be like this forever. Well, no, you can't, because what you did to get there for those 16 weeks was torture, and it was a very specific plan with a very specific time frame. Can you replicate that day in and day out, year in and year out? No, you can't.
Yeah. What about okay, what's your opinion on like the messaging though that's coming from, that you see out there though, women that are like completely toned, I'm going to use that word, but like, and then they're saying, oh, just do this if you want to look like me. Like that's the type of messaging. And so it makes you wonder like why we're so fucked when it comes to our beliefs and our expectations.
Well, I
Like
mean,
I see it.
look at how much context I paint with. I always tell people, like,
Yeah.
I started this shit when I was 15. The reason why I look like I do, most of why I look how I look now, happened in my early 20s. And I happened to just maintain those baseline skill sets and those levels of effort throughout my life. I didn't really do anything extra. I didn't really go above and beyond. I didn't really make any massive strides from 25 to 41. Like nothing really changed outside of getting on TRT in my 30s. That was really the only other major life event that pushed my physique to another level. But most people have jobs and have kids, and I don't have kids and aren't going to have them. So like for me, all I've ever had to do was worry about myself. So think about that. Like that's a massive thing off your plate if you're only like any woman that's like I want my body back from my 20s. Well, cool, then don't have kids, don't have a family, and only have a job and only worry about yourself. Then you could certainly keep that body forever. Or understand that if you want all these other things are going to present challenges and resistances in your life, and you're going to have to be okay with whatever happens because of that. Now, can you do it all? Yes, but for how long? At some point, your battery runs dry and you have to recharge it, and you can't do it without ever stopping and relaxing.
Yeah, like we can do it all, just not all at once, and really understand and accept that we have seasons of life. Like things shift, evolve, and it's okay if one season you can work out 4 days a week and you can pour everything of yourself into it, and then, another few months you have to dial it back. Like I think that's an important part of the messaging is that it's not always going to look like this, especially when you have all of these different variables, not only as a mother, but a spouse, and just dealing with all of these ingrained beliefs and like diet culture shit that we have in our head that we're still trying to unravel. That doesn't happen overnight. That takes time, a lot of time, right? So how much, what part of like letting, because Carmi and I talk about this all the time, but letting go of the timeline, how important do you think that is in the process, and what would you want like our audience to understand about that?
This is a hard one for me because I'm not a competitive person,
Yeah,
so I don't put timelines on stuff. Like I'm a very go with the
yeah,
flow. If it happens, it happens. Like I don't know where that came from. It just got developed over the years of me being an adult. But it's very difficult to teach that to somebody. You either have it or you realize you need it and you practice it, or you don't. And very oftentimes people just don't have that. They rush everything in life. They rush the quality of their relationship. They rush the raise at work. They rush getting their kids to a better place in their sport or to getting smarter in school. And there's just, you can't rush certain processes, less so physiological processes that require a ton of inputs by you as the individual. So let's not worry about timeline. If people are obsessed about the timeline,
yeah.
cool. Let's work with that individual and tell them, okay, if you have a timeline, like let's say you want to have a certain look by, I don't know, 6 months from now, whatever that is, then lay out the plan for them and show them how miserable it's going to be. Like I've done
Like
that
in
several
perspective.
times. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
I've done that. I've had people tell me like, I want to look like XYZ by this. I said, okay, cool. Like this is what you're going to have to do. And then I hand them that
Yeah.
literally piece of paper and they look at it and they're like, oh, there's no way. I said, cool. So then there's no way you're going to look like that by that time. What happens if we push the timeline out another 6 months? Are you capable of all these same things? Yeah. Okay, let's do that then. That's it.
Right.
Like we can only do what we can do in whatever time you're giving me. And if you're giving me very little time, I'm going to tell you you're going to have to spill everything out of the tank to get there. And if you're willing to do it, let's go. I'll support you. It's going to suck. It's going to be miserable and life will be awful everywhere else. But if this is that important to you and you really want to look like that, this is what you're going to have to do.
But I can appreciate that
Right.
messaging because, again, on social media, context is always lacking. And so they're comparing themselves to these bodybuilders who are competing, but there's no context. You have no idea. I mean, we know what they're going through, but you as a general layperson, you don't have any idea what they're living and breathing that shit. And so, my husband actually asked me, he's like, do you ever aspire to do a competition? No. I love it for everybody else. I don't love it for me because honestly, I know how my life is. I know which variables I can't control. That is just too much. Like now, if I didn't have a job, would I maybe think about it? Maybe. But honestly, my job is busy. It's stressful at times. My kids are demanding. My life is demanding. Like I just don't want it for me. And you know what? I really like just being flexible. I really like just enjoying the things. So if I'm having a shitty day and I'm eating like a trash can, cool. It's a day. But it
Let me
doesn't
be.
matter. Like, let me be Oscar the Grouch in the trash can eating, like I've been the last 2 days. And it's cool because you know what? I have goals, but there's not a timeline set to it, and it is what it is. I'll get there eventually.
That's the
Yes,
most
that's good.
that takes a lot of trial. I don't want to say error, but at least trial, because
It is.
most people are on the bench, figuratively speaking, when it comes to life. Most people are not in the game. They only get called up into the game every once in a while, and then they get really obsessed with it. It's like, well, I wasn't paying attention to any of these things, and then all of a sudden the holiday season ended. I saw a couple of pictures of myself that I didn't like, so now I'm going to go from doing nothing and contributing nothing to this process to in January, I'm going to dedicate every ounce of available mental effort into this thing. Well, where the fuck was that for the last 6 months?
Yeah.
And wouldn't it have made more sense to be doing a little bit along the way up until the holiday season, which we know happens every year, and it's not a surprise, versus now you having to sit there in January and create these grandiose, illustrious goals for yourself and put in all of these action steps that you know after a week are not going to be there because life will pop up and kids will have appointments and your husband will get sick and your dog will have to go to the vet and you might get fucking laid off from work. What are you going to do then? And it's just like, it's this very rigid thinking of like, no, you can't. You can't. Like, you have to be able to ebb and flow with the varying demands and stressors of life. And like, what is the floor of what you're able to contribute, and what is the ceiling of what you're able to contribute? Because once you can identify those two things, I know that I can always get 6,000 steps in a day, no matter how shitty my day is. I know that I can always drink X amount of water. I know that I can always get X amount of training sessions in per week. And I know that if I get 60 minutes of cardio, and I'll feel really, really good per week. That's my minimum.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good. That's better than 99% of the population. If you can do that month over month, year over year, you're not moving backwards. And then when you have opportunity to incrementally move forward, like what Dahl said, well, all of a sudden I can work out 4 days a week. Cool. Pedal to the fucking metal for a very short period of time, squeeze whatever you can out of it, and then know that you're going to revert back to whatever your floor is. But that floor is gonna be a floor. It's a hard floor. You know where it is. You know what it looks like, and you know what you look like when you're there. Like from a physique perspective, from a body comp perspective. Like I know. I think it's what we're 14 days into the month, and maybe I've hit my nutrition targets 3 times this month. So at the end of December, I'm going to expect to weigh more. I'm going to expect to see less definition in my body. Why? Because I'm paying less attention to my nutrition because I care less right now. Why? Because I'm not that upset about how I look and feel. And it's fun to not give a shit for a little while. Like Carmi said, like if I want to be a trash can for a couple days, so be it. I know what the consequences are and they're not that bad. But people, they have this weird thing. It's like an emergency. Like I have fat. Well, bitch, you've had fat on you for fucking 40 years. Like this isn't like a new. You didn't wake up yesterday and all of a sudden, like your abs went away. Like I can see if you were walking around at 18% body fat for a majority of your life, and now like you got divorced and your kids had to go to fucking military school and you were depressed and you put on 40 pounds and you're miserable. I get that. But if you've been walking around schlubby your whole fucking life, like what are you losing? Like nothing bad is actually happening. You were already fat. You got slightly fatter. But nobody but you noticed it. Yeah, you went from 207 to 212. Who gives a fuck? Lipstick on a pig at that point. But like at the end of the, but like at some point, you have to be okay with that. Like I took my eye off the ball. I know exactly what to expect. When I don't pay attention to this shit, it's not going to go my way. When I do pay attention to it, I can probably control it better. But like, I just don't understand where these unreasonable, and I don't. I'm so tired of blaming diet culture and social media. Like all of it, like we all have agency. At some point, you're a fucking
Yes.
adult. You don't like. I don't watch the news for a very specific purpose because I don't give a fuck about what's going on in the world. So I'm not going to turn on the news and then enter in more bullshit into my head that I then have to obsess and worry about. So I just don't watch it. Maybe that's me being ignorant, but whatever. That's one thing I can control. But people are so obsessed with things that they have no control over versus being able to recognize I have control over these things. They're going to massively contribute to my mental and physical well-being, and they're not that complicated. So maybe I should pay attention to this stuff in my immediate family and worry less about all this other noise out here.
Right. There's just so, like, you're talking about so many different things, and this is just it. There's so much at play. You talk about like taking agency, but that requires self-awareness,
which
right?
a lot of people lack.
Which we lack. And I know for me personally, and for you too, Carmi, like the thing with self-awareness is it's like once you have it, and I know Jeb pointed this out to me, it's like now it's like, okay, what do we do?
Mm-hmm.
What do we do? What can we do? But at the same time, like self-awareness with compassion allows you to choose differently. And I think that's key, right? And that allows you to go deeper. And so I want to ask you, we struggle with clients. I know a lot of people, coaches, do with adherence and compliance and all of that. Where does self-regulation and like doing the deeper dive and saying, hey, let's can you be honest with yourself? Can you be honest with your actions, where you've been, where you're at? Yes, diet culture. Yes, the ingrained beliefs. Yes, the shit that you grew up with, your childhood trauma, whatever the case may be. But at some point, yes, we do have to take responsibility. And you say this all the time. We're adults. We have to do that. So how much of like emotional eating and nervous system stuff and all of that comes into play with your coaching, and how do you address that?
I keep the bar pretty low. I mean, anybody that works with me
Okay.
kind of like, I don't really demand all that much from people, and I'm constantly reminding them that they're going to be human beings. And I constantly illustrate where I'm human. I obviously have a lot more flexibility physiologically than most people
Yeah.
do, and I can get away with the behaviors that I have until I can't. But I never let it get that far because, again, I have the bandwidth for it. It's important to me. I don't really have a ton else going on. But for other people, if you're north of 35 and you've never been with a therapist, like that's one problem. Like, let's solve that issue. Like, if you like, and I would be hard pressed to believe that people are walking around fully functional and fully healed from something. Like, everybody has a relationship that was devastating to them, a parent that was shitty to them, something that happened in their life that fucked them up for months and months and months that they're still burying deep inside of them. So spend some time with a mental health professional just unpacking these things and at least having some semblance of coping mechanisms for stress, having some way to regulate emotions so that emotions don't control your entire life. I think it honestly starts there. Like, I can give somebody the perfect macros and the perfect workout plan, and I can give them accountability, and I can stay on top of them every day and every week. At the end of the day, there are physiological truths that you can't ignore, and some people take more liberty than they're allowed to take, and that's because of, I think, a lot of this like messaging of like, well, you should be giving yourself grace. Well, if your default is grace, then maybe discipline is what you should be doing. If your default is nothing but discipline, then maybe grace is what you need. Like, there's different kinds of people. There's plenty of people that are doing too much. We've all had them. The woman who's working out 7 days a week, the woman that's eating out of a plastic container for every meal, the woman who's not going out to ice cream with her kids whatsoever. That woman probably needs to give herself some grace and chill out a little bit. But then there's the woman who's floundering, who eats out 6 times a week, who has a coffee out from her favorite place 4 times a week, who drinks 4 nights a week, who works out a couple days a week, who doesn't really eat and prep most of her own food. Does that woman need more grace? No, you just got to get your shit together. Like, so it's like, understand where you're at on the spectrum. But the mental
Right.
health stuff, like, as much as I want to be able to mentor and help people on the mental health side, I'm getting to a point now in my career where I'm really taking a stance of it's not my responsibility. Like, you came to me for nutrition and fitness coaching, and yes, a lot of it is psychologically driven. But I'm going to just tell you, the same way that you continue to go to work and you continue to show up for your kids, show up for yourself. Like, if that message is too broad for you, then go see a therapist. Like, for the $10 a day you pay me, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be the one that fixes your brain unless you're open. Like, there's plenty of people that are already coming to you open-minded, growth-minded, inspired, motivated, just type A, go get them people. Most people are not that. So most people, you have to like beg to do something, beg to change, beg to look inward. And I'm done fucking begging. Like, I'm 41 years old. I'm not going to be the one that changes your mind if you're 45 and you've been living like this for 35 years. If you don't want to take responsibility for the problems that you have, whether they're emotional regulation issues or the fact that you can't control yourself around fucking sweets, then don't buy these things. Like, what do you want me to tell you? I'm going to give you the simple solution, but you're going to give me 30 reasons why you can't do that. Well, my kids, I don't give a fuck. Then don't buy candy for your kids. Like, if you can't control yourself around something, like you literally know, like when I come home at night, I'm so stressed out that I always do this. Okay, well, if you don't want to fix the reason behind that, then change the environment. Like that's the only thing that we can do right now to at least be able to get you to a place where you feel better. And that's already a win. Like you're not going to put an alcoholic in a fucking house full of booze when he's recovering from alcoholism. You're going to remove every ounce of pressure that he's going to feel towards alcohol. So if you're a woman who's susceptible to overeating at night, pack your fucking fridge with fruit and vegetables. Good luck trying to overeat that. But if you have a bunch of fucking tasty cakes and hostess things and candy and shit that your kids want to eat and chips and all that other garbage in your house, you're going to eat it. You only have so much willpower and it's going to run dry at some point. And then you're going to find yourself on Thursday knee deep in fucking popcorners wondering why.
Right. And like removing things from the environment, yes, like that's definitely a solution, albeit probably a temporary one.
Short term.
But at
Short
least,
term.
but at least it is like it can help somebody. It can for sure, right? There's
Because
lots of
We've
different
talked about that
strategies.
before.
yeah, like if your problem, like I know what my problem is. I'm so like if I smoke weed, I don't give a fuck. So if I wanted to, if I looked at myself and I looked at myself and said, I'm not happy with how I feel, I'm not happy with how I look, I know that the catalyst to my problems is nightly weed smoking, then what do? I stop fucking smoking weed at night. It's as simple as that. If I don't want to address the root cause as a woman who identifies herself as an emotional eater, well, I have two options. I can either control my emotions better, which requires other avenues of help,
A lot of work.
or I change my environment so that when I do become susceptible to making an unregulated choice around food, I have nothing to put in my mouth that's bad or that I can overconsume because I'm not going to go back into my meal prep container for more grilled chicken.
Yeah. And that's taking you time though, right? Yeah, the meat stick we talk about, but that's taking you time too to arrive at that for yourself, right? Like
Not really. I mean,
getting the munchies and stuff. Like
I have an easy problem. Like I always
yeah,
recognize how much easier this is for me. Like I don't have like I was talking to a client of mine who was 480 pounds, and he was talking to me about the concept of food noise because
yeah,
he's on tirzepatide right now, and he's explaining to me like almost on a daily basis how he feels, how it's affecting his body, and he's actually going to come on. Not only one of our Wednesday calls, Carmi, but he's going to come on to one of my
yeah.
coaching calls on Fridays because I want him to talk to coaches about what that actually feels like. And the only way that I was able to understand it was when he compared it to cocaine. And now that I don't really drink that much, I don't have the itch to do cocaine. But like if I go out to whatever, if I go out to a restaurant and I have more than 2 or 3 drinks, that little thing in the back of my head that said when I used to drink a lot, I used to also do cocaine, it starts to creep back up again. And I have two choices at that point. I can either continue drinking and hope that I can fight that feeling all night long, or I get the fuck out of the bar and I go home. Those are my two options. I'm not going to mess around and test willpower or test fate. I know what's going to happen. I know that eventually as human beings, we are going to fuck up. So for me, I would rather just change my environment. I would rather change my life, and I would rather do it that way as opposed to like what Carmi was talking about was this concept of just constantly fighting and white knuckling it. It's a losing battle.
Yeah, it really is. Okay, so you were talking about the coaching calls. I think this is a really good transition. I want to be respectful of your time, which are awesome, by the way. So thank you for providing us that platform to be able to show up and address our concerns and questions, and also like connect with other coaches because I know I have through your coaching calls. So for the coaches out there, like I don't know what you're waiting for. Sign up. So let's like Carmi and I wanted to also talk about the Real Coaches Summit and transition into that. So I don't know, Carmi, where did you want to start with that?
Well, I mean, what is this, year 4? Is this going to be year 4 for
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, it'll be
The
year
Real
4
Coaches
next.
Summit. So
Yeah.
Aram hosts a, I guess, an um, fitness and health and coaching summit every year for this is going to be the fourth year now. And we wanted to talk about the impact that it's having. And are you aware of the impact that it's having on us as
Yeah.
coaches and as people? Because your gathering has gotten us some like real life friendships, real life connections. So talk about that. Talk about what you do.
Yeah,
I
what
mean,
it's all about.
it started off as like a necessity just because I was going to so many conferences that were underwhelming to me from a multitude of standpoints. Like it was, a lot of the stuff I went to felt inauthentic. It felt very sales heavy. The education that was being provided wasn't very practical and it was very theoretical. It was a lot of what felt like getting talked at versus being
Mm-hmm.
educated. And it was a lot of like rah rah, like trying to get to you to motivate you to do something. And I truly believe that as coaches in this space, we don't really need motivation to do what we do. We like what we do, and if we don't like what we do, then don't be a coach. To me, it's as simple as that. Like I don't need to get on stage and watch four motivational speakers get me fired up to do my job every day. So I wanted to provide a place for people to get something outside of their initial certification knowledge base, something where they can dive a little bit deeper into problems that our clients are having every day and get it from the mouths of people who are actually doing the work, not so much the celebrity talking heads that have large audiences and large followings who are a little bit more removed from the average clientele base that they used to serve. And now they're just kind of running companies versus actually doing the work. And it doesn't mean that if, can Lane Norton still solve fat loss problems? Of course he can. But do I necessarily want somebody like Lane Norton on stage? Probably not. If he's going to hang out the whole time and sit there at every meal
Yeah.
like he should, then great. But more often than not, people like that don't do that. They do their talk, they leave, and then they're nowhere to be found again. And that's just not what I've tried to create or build. I would much rather have somebody who's really hungry and wants to make this industry better as a whole, not just line their own pockets, be the people that are on stage speaking. So, I mean, anybody that's been there, I think, knows the spirit of the event. Like whether it's your podcast that was born out of the event or
Yeah. It
multiple
was.
multiple relationships of people either becoming friends. I don't know if you guys know Ryan Cassim, the kid that's here in San Diego. The girl that he's dating now, he met at RCS. Like, there's so many things that are happening that I don't even get to see because I'm not always involved. Like, it comes back to me secondhand sometimes. Like Anthony Deal had posted a picture with Courtney. They were
Oh
in a
yeah.
bodybuilding show together, so it's cool to see that what it started off as like an educational conference. I think is going to turn into a yearly meetup, almost like a yearly
Yes.
almost like a coaches reunion because we don't really have anything like that. Like we're all online. We all sit in front of our computers. We all interface through either DM or through text message, so we don't really get and even this isn't the same as sitting at a table together having a drink or eating. So that's what I want it to be. I just want it to be somewhere that's fun with a side of education. I don't really care about the education being the highlight. Like if it is for somebody, cool. But for most of us, it's really just a place to come together because again, like this can be so isolating.
Yes. But well, I want to reaffirm that that's exactly what you've created in that environment because we have several group chats going on with different
Yeah.
collective people and we're like, hey, and we're talking about it already, we're planning it. And so, I mean, you've done what you needed to do. And it's amazing. Honestly, the energy in the room is palpable. Like it's fun, it's inclusive. Everybody's there that's they're like-minded. We all are there to want to help people. We're there to get educated, but
Hmm.
mainly we're just there to reconnect and feel each other's energy. And it's really, really cool. This is both year three for us,
Yeah.
right, Val?
Yeah, yeah, it's going to be. And I want to express like I know I haven't told you in person, but obviously like my gratitude and appreciation for providing that platform physically for us to be able to connect at that level. Andrew's conference was the first conference I went to, and I was a complete newbie, but that set the stage for me to have the courage to come to your conference. like 4 months later by myself, still really not knowing a lot of people, but maybe a few people. And I can't express how it's changed my life. And I support it like fully. And I encourage every coach to go because it has been life changing for me. It
Not even
really
just
has. Like,
coaches though, fitness enthusiasts can
no,
go too, like
yep.
because they're happening handful. My husband's got his ass in a seat this year too, and I was like, wait, what? We're paying for you? Okay,
Ooh.
let's go.
Let's be honest. He just wants to go to Vegas.
Well, I mean, we always making a mommy daddy trip, but still, I was like, wait, what? You're not gonna stay like gambling and in the room? You want to go like come sit with it? Okay, come on, let's
Well,
go.
I
And
think
it's real, coach. It's real people. Like, it's such a perfect name for it because we really want to help, and we're not there just for like, do you know what I mean? We're not in this industry for, obviously everyone needs to make a living, but it's so much more than that. So much more. And you see it. Like, it's just a completely different vibe. It's crazy. You have to
I've
be there to
never not
experience it.
once had a conversation, or I've never had a conversation where somebody is like, how are you selling more clients? Or how are you getting more clients? That's not even
No,
what we're there to talk about. It's like,
no.
well, how are you troubleshooting this? Or how can I do better? Or how can I show up better? And it's ultimately we're showing our hearts and like we're really just here to help.
yeah, I mean, this will be the year where I have the lowest collective following count of all the speakers. So like year one, I had 24 speakers, and like we had people like Jordan Syatt and Brad Jensen and Sam Miller, and like just these bigger, more marquee that I would consider names that have very large audiences. And I think it was 2.4 million followers amongst all 24 speakers.
Oh well.
I think
Mm.
next year, I don't even think we break 200,000 total. So it shows you that the audience that these people have isn't big, but the impact they're having is massive because these are some I consider to be, and again, like I don't want to seem like I'm the judge, jury, and executioner of the fitness industry, that I know everything and I'm the best, but I have a pretty good eye on who's full of shit and who's not. And the people that I pick more often than not have always been very supportive of how I do things. Like even just the fact that like I don't pay people, like I don't pay speakers. I mean, I pay for their hotel room, and obviously they get the same food offering that you guys get. But I don't pay them now, and I don't plan on ever paying them. And if there are people that come to me and they're like, "Well, I want XYZ money to be on stage," I'll be like, "Cool, then don't speak at my like I don't need you to be the person that represents our industry. Like if the 5 grand that you require to be on stage is the incentive for you to be there, then like where's your head at? Like we all know that. I mean, shit. If somebody offered me 5 grand to speak, is the 5 grand going to make a meaningful difference in my life? No. Like I'm not dying for money, and most of the coaches that are 10 plus years into the industry who have successful businesses don't need the 5 grand anyway. Now there are obviously conferences that will pay speakers a lot of money, and I'm talking like 20, 30, 50,000 to be there. There's nobody out there that I would pay. Like I maybe if Denzel Washington showed up and spoke for an hour, I would pay him 50 grand just to hang out with him. Sure,
Of all the people,
To pick his
that's what
brain.
you choose.
but like I can't think of one fitness professional that would be worth paying any money. Like you should be like if you're a fitness
Anybody.
professional, you're first of all like as a fitness professional, you're already somebody whose underlying like desire is to help people. Like that's why you got into the business. So if that's the case and you're already successful financially, why the fuck wouldn't you just come for free, share the knowledge that you're so proud of gathering over these last 10, 15 years and give it away to people so that they
And
can
be of
end up.
service.
But
Yeah.
unfortunately, we know what status does to people. We know what
Mm.
Instagram followers do to people. We know what money does to people. And I've watched a lot of people change for the worse. And I mean, I can sit here and name drop all day long, but like we already know those people. And when you start ending up on the Huberman show, and you end up on the Atia
Mm.
show, and you end up on Mel Robbins' podcast, you're no longer a coach anymore. You're a fucking salesperson, and that's not
Yeah,
what I want on stage.
Right.
which is
Well,
a little
I mean,
unfortunate because you have these people and they've established trust with their audience, and to see them shift so hard to the left or to the right, you're like, what happened?
I mean, I don't know.
yeah,
Like
well, human.
I've never been invited to one of these things. I don't like. I would imagine that like if Huberman ever asked me to come on his podcast, I would be the same. I would even take it less seriously than I would any other podcast because I'd want to show his audience how full of shit he is. And be like, you guys are being sold all of this optimization garbage, and 99% of you don't even know how much protein you eat. So let's start there, as opposed to like me telling you to like sun your balls and fucking rub your feet in the grass for 3 hours at 5 a.m. and take $3,000 worth of supplements that he's got a coupon code for. Like I would love the opportunity to rip some of these people apart because I don't care. I just don't care. Like, I don't want the optimization crowd. That's not who the average American is. The average American is overweight, under-muscled, unhappy, doesn't know the basics, needs help that doesn't cost $2,000 a month or doesn't require 4 months worth of fucking gut protocol cleanups. Like the average person just needs to eat more fruits and vegetables, have protein at every meal, have some semblance of a meal structure, and lift weights and do cardio and walk. And that's like, if they did that, maybe at some point in the next 20 years, they can start buying fucking liver pills and whatever else is being sold. But even I don't do that. I mean, like some of the fittest people I know don't give a shit about what's optimal because they're already living an optimal lifestyle.
And optimal for whom, right?
And according to whom?
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't like, we're all going to die of something, and we can sit here and try to like dial every knob and perfect everything. And then you can still drop dead at 60 with no fucking reason whatsoever. So it's like, for me, as somebody who's done coke off a toilet seat in Grand Central Station, like I'm not going to be the one to tell you that you need a peptide or you need no. Like you want to do all that stuff, go right ahead. You want to inject yourself with 97 different things. Cool. Let me know how it works out. Maybe I can try something later on. But we're missing the basics. Too many people get too rich too fast in this industry, and they think they're fucking better than they are. Too many coaches charge way too much money that doesn't need to be charged. And I mean, I can work with 300 people at $7 a day and create a bigger change than anybody out there charging $1,000 a month for fucking macros and workouts. Like, who do you think you are?
Right. Boring basics. That's what it all comes back to.
Yeah, full circle.
Full circle.
Master your basics, create your foundation, people. See, even he says it. He mansplains the best.
Yeah, mansplaining it. Anthony Deal sent me he went on ChatGPT and he created a picture of what I consider to be the Menno Mafia. And I haven't posted about it yet because I'm still trying to find the perfect day to ruffle a lot of feathers at once. But when that picture drops, I'm likely to lose some followers and have a lot of people really angry, but I don't care.
Yeah. It needs to be said, though.
Looking forward to it.
I am so tired of the people preying on that pain point, because it's like you just said, you hit the nail on the head. Whether you're in menopause or have some kind of hormone issue or whatever issue you're having, it still boils down to that foundation, the boring basics. If you're not doing that shit, none of that shit really matters. It'll matter.
It still came down. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, HRT helps, but like, why have to go and seek out the really expensive, complex option? You know what I mean? It would be like, in any other case in the world, it doesn't make any sense. But so many people are like waiting for that solution to be what they're being told they need to do. It's like, well, is your insurance company going to cover all the blood work? Maybe not. Do you have the money to go out of pocket if you have to go out of pocket for this stuff? Do you have the time to go to the doctor this many times to go visit them, to have these consultations? Or can you take all of that time and all of that money and put it into a grocery order and put it into some meal prep? Like, that would probably benefit you as a whole way more than anything else. And I think after you start sleeping better, eating better, stressing less, regulating your emotions more, and being overall a more pleasant, happy person because you're taking better care of yourself, I would imagine a lot of your symptoms would probably subside also.
They do.
They do. And then you stop comparing, and then you just start living your life for you, and then you're just happy with you.
It's all interconnected, right? All interconnected. Just start with the basics and see where it takes you, and then you can deal with the rest as it comes. So yeah.
Well, any closing thoughts for our audience?
Nope. Honestly,
just handle your shit.
I'm good.
just understand that you're not unique.
Right.
You are not, like, the same way that until you die, gravity will be the thing holding you down on this earth and prevent you from floating off into space. The law of thermodynamics is what dictates your ability to lose fat. If you consume more than your body requires, and you will never know unless you actually track your food, then you're never going to be able to solve a problem that requires nothing but math. That's it.
Yep. Calorie deficit. All right. Well, Aram, tell us where we can, where people can find you, because you're a great follow. Lots of practical advice, really. So, and your podcast is awesome too. I'll just plug that. So, go ahead.
Everything's at 4 weeks to the beach. The number's 4 and 2 on Instagram, and then for the coaches, real.coaches.summit for them. And then, I mean, I'll always answer DMs. I'll help people for free. I'll give you macros. I don't give a shit. Like, at the end of the day, I can give them to you, and a week after me giving them to you, you'll stop following them and then wonder why they don't work. So that's
absolute truth as far as you helping people for free, because before I actually hired you as my coach, I think you were helping me for free for about 2 years. No questions asked. So there's that part. So I owe a lot of my journey to him. Yes, I did the work and I showed up, but he was always the bug in my ear, and also the reason why I started my business, because he said, well, why not? Because my answer was, well, who the fuck wants to hear from me? Well, why wouldn't they? Okay,
everybody.
Let's do it. Full send.
I'd much rather have it come from you than come from me, because I don't have the kids. I don't have the stressful job. I don't have the complications that you have. So you're a much more credible. If you can understand the science of this stuff, which is so fucking simple. I mean, if I was a woman who was in her 40s, I would much rather listen to you than me. But unfortunately, I have no idea why they listen to me first, or they completely call me an asshole and discredit me. But they do that to you more than they do it to me, which is so weird. Like you get more shit from other women than I get.
Yes.
And it makes no sense to me. It's like, you have a woman who's a walking, living example of what's possible. Why are you getting upset with her?
Because I'm a magic unicorn. Despite what you say, I am a magic unicorn. Tell me
different. Yeah, I'm sorry. You're right. I can see the horn growing out of your head already.
Yes. Well, listen, like, you know, having a coach that really cares, that wants to have a relationship with you, that really does want you to succeed and empower you like you do, Aram, that really matters. And so be careful of where you, and Jeb posted this, so be careful of where you invest your money, but you do need to invest. And so invest it wisely and know that it will have an incredible impact and it can change the trajectory of your life. You just got to believe, and you got to put in the time and the practice and the reps. And so, you know, go follow Aram. That's it. Like, he has been incredibly, and you have, like, you know this. I said it when I started following you. I'm like, holy shit, I resonate with you so much. Obviously, because I was already into it, but everything that you were saying, that you continue to say, there are a lot of things that are very practical, very real, very honest. So thank you for everything that you provide, not only your audience, the world, but the coaches community. Really grateful for that, and looking forward to continuing to learn from you as well.
Thank you. Hopefully I'll learn more stuff with the Yes, please.
Yes, please. Exactly. We were bought in the day after last year's or this.
Oh yeah, we did. Like 2 days after. Yeah, we bought our tickets like right after. We're like, what? A sale? Sure. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. That's the brown in us. That's the Asian.
Hopefully I won't have to refund anybody.
No, we're going to make this happen. It's going to happen. All right. Well, with that.
It's only a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yes. All right. Well, with that, thank you. We really appreciate this. All right. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.